Are there eggs
Yes.
used in meatless?
Yes.
Okay.
I do include eggs and I do include dairy. The dairy I use primarily, for the most part, as a garnish or a topping, with the exception of lasagna. That's one. That would be one exception to the rule. And there's a lot of dairy optional in the book. So if you don't want to use the dairy, don't use it. I give a lot of flexibility in the recipes. Eggs, yes, they figure in. I don't include any fish, which some folks sort of define as, you know, you could call yourself a pescatarian, or you could call yourself, you know, one doesn't eat meat but eats fish. So it's how you look at it.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Seaweed. Now, people are talking about seaweed becoming a delicacy. Do you venture into any of that?
I don't. You know, I like eating seaweed. If I go to a Japanese restaurant, I don't really prepare it at home. I would say that, you know, what I tried to do with this book was to use ingredients that are readily accessible in your neighborhood conventional supermarket. In some areas of the country, it may take a little bit more work, but that may be the case for everything. But, you know, for example, I was in Washington, D.C. just last weekend, the weekend before last, teaching a class. The woman who went shopping for the ingredients bought everything we needed for 6 dishes at her local Giant. It's very heartwarming to know that, because, you know, one big complaint among readers with cookbooks is I can't find half the ingredients. I have to go to XYZ specialty store. I have to order it online and so on. And it becomes, you know, a whole other extravaganza before you even start getting into the kitchen. So I'm very happy to be able to say, you know, you can get, these are readily accessible for the most part.
Now, you use wine in one of the dishes.
Mm-hmm.
For liquids like water, you don't tell people what kind of water to use. They just pick their own water.
Yeah.
But are there other liquids like wine or milk or
you know, I don't.
soy milk or rice milk?
I don't use any soy milk or rice milk in the book. I may refer to it as an alternative, and I don't even use a lot of milk in my recipes. I'm actually just scanning through right now, just mentally thinking about the recipes. There's very little dairy in that way. There's a there's a root vegetable pot pie, and I make it with a cheddar crust, and I think there's a little bit of milk in that. And, you know, by all means, don't use it. You know, use a non-dairy alternative. I also, you were asking about wine and other liquids. I have a recipe, at least 2, for various vegetable stocks that you can make on your own, but often I will just season water. I will throw a cinnamon stick and a garlic clove and a little fresh piece of ginger to season my lentils, for example. I don't use any stock, because if I can season the water, it's one less thing to be worrying about. And I get really nice flavor doing that.
That is very interesting. Are there any things to do, like put things out in the window to before you put them in the oven? Or can you just make things from scratch here and then it's pretty much good to go?
There's a few I think you're asking, like, if are there things that need a lot of extra preparation?
Yeah, like in a couple of hours. You know, I said sautéing earlier, but just putting them out and letting them, you know, set.
Like just rest at room temp kind of thing? Yeah, there is. And, you know, as far as the time commitment is concerned, there are a few recipes in the book, and I'm very clear. I'll say, you know, this is not a weeknight dish. There's I have a smoked tofu recipe. It sort of cooks over low heat on the grill, and I would definitely do, you know, I recommend doing that on the weekend when you have more time. And that pot pie I was just mentioning, that takes a little bit of time. And but I say that at the top of the recipe that this is not, you know, your average weeknight dish. But for the most part, you can have dinner on the table in an hour, and probably.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you know what's funny is I went off into the civil action and then Julia Roberts thing. I was talking about Marie Cody. I had Marie on the air, and she's an old friend too. She knows Kate. But she is a columnist up there, and she had a collection of her articles on Woburn So she put a really nice Woburn book together. Are these all from the columns, or did you make special ones for the book? Or they're all brand new?
Many of them were specifically developed for the book. It was actually a requirement.
Oh, so that's like double duty, because you've already got stuff in the newspaper, and then you have to come up with something totally fresh for the book.
And I wrote the book in 4.5 months.
That's a lot of work. That's amazing. But of course, having worked on these recipes all your life.
Yeah, I mean, I think the real challenge was, you know, you can make, I didn't want to just do a beautiful plate of vegetables. It had to be going back to the mission of the book, which is to get meat lovers on board and get them excited. So that was the challenge. And, you know, I actually worked on a dish, a couple of examples where it looked ugly. So that's not going to excite a meat lover. There were things that just didn't feel easy enough. So I scratched it. And so there's things, of course, they always come, you know, cut at the editing floor. You save them for later and go back to it at another time. But it was a very significant percentage of these recipes were developed just for this book.
See, now, if I were doing a book of weekly recipes, it'd be like chocolate this and strawberry that. But no, this is very inventive. The photos, did you take the photos?
No, a lovely woman, talented woman in Seattle by the name of Myra Khan. She shot these photos.
Beautiful.
Yeah, she did a great job.
So you've got black and white as well as the nice color ones in here.
Yes.
Great work.
Thank you.
Did she do the cover?
Yes. Isn't that tasty looking?
Oh, it's you know, delicious. The bread, what kind of bread is that?
Oh, probably like a hoagie roll.
Oh, it just looks very tempting.
Good.
Very tempting.
That was the goal.
Now, did any readers of the newspaper know you were doing a book and write in any suggestions?
No, I mean, you know, I wrote for the paper for a long time, and so because I did get to know some readers, and stay in touch with them, and actually some of them became testers for the book. So that's
cute.
Yeah, it is.
Testers.
Yeah, so that was kind of nice to get some of them involved, and very heartening, you know.
Sure, immediate feedback.
Yeah. Well, it's actually, I highly recommend having testers. You always need, you know, 2 and 3 sets of eyes after you've created
like an
a
editor.
dish. Exactly. But not only because you want to know whether the dish goes over well, but does it yield what you say? You know, that's so important in a cookbook, your accuracy of the amount that you make. You know, does 2 cups yield into X, or 4 servings?
So the testers just didn't taste it, they actually made the dishes.
Yeah. So they would make the dishes in their own homes. You know, and there were various scenarios. You know, there were mom with 2 kids, there were single folks, there were vegetarians, there were meat lovers, and so and that was very intentional. I wanted to have a variety of people weighing in.
See, now, I think that would make a good book. People testing someone's recipes and their feedback on it. That might be a really intriguing look into how people react, and maybe they do different.
Sometimes they don't react too well.
Oh, well, even that is intriguing.
Yeah.
Because you're getting into the science of making food in a whole different way, with the limitation of you can't use meat. So it's a very interesting study. I really like the way they laid the book out, Winter, and again, like, it's your concept. How did you get the book sold?
Well, it starts with a proposal, and interestingly, a college roommate who I'd lost touch with, who was actually from Massachusetts, she lives in Holden, and she put me in touch with someone who lived in Worcester, who had many years of experience, sort of what they call book doctoring, so looking at proposals and helping you get it into shape. And he was the one, we worked really well together, and he was the one who introduced me to my agent, who is also in Massachusetts. She's near Northampton.
Amazing.
I know, it really is. And she went out and tried to sell the book to various publishers, and so it ultimately ended with Da Capo Lifelong, which is based in Cambridge. Perseus is in Cambridge.
So you've got a lot of Cambridge-Seattle connection.
I do. I actually hadn't even really thought about it, but yeah.
Well, that's what the purpose of the show is, to bring these things out. Resources are a very good part of the book. Stocking the pantry and feeding your brain.
Yeah.
So, and what this has is, you've got the metric conversions too. That's very good.
Well, this book is being sold in the UK and in other English-speaking countries, so it's kind of important.
I never heard of online Latino groceries, mexgrocer.com.
Yeah.
Fascinating. And worldspice.com. Well, that says what it is. They're in Seattle.
Yeah, it's a great resource. What I love about that place is that they hand pack spices. So you sidle up to the counter, you tell them what you want. The stuff isn't pre-packed, so it's very fresh.
And you actually get to go in there and look at the spices. That must be an amazing thing.
Yeah, it is.
A spice house.